Hello, we're on day 20 and a couple of people have asked about listings and what's the best way to do it and what to include. So I thought I'd go over those. And as always, if you've got any ideas, please comment with them and share your top tips as well. So the question is, why do some listings sell and others don't when the items are similar? Why do some sell quicker? Why are some selling for more money? So it's all in the quality of your listing, and it's really simple fix. If your listings need a little bit of editing, it's really simple to do. So think about the title. If we start with the title there, and having a real searchable title and having some keywords in there so that it helps people find your item quickly. So that's the first thing. If you've got an old bowl, rather than saying lovely wooden bowl or lovely old bowl, put in what it's made from, if it's wood or a stoneware. Put in the age, if you know it, 19th century or whatever it might be, or mid-century, whatever. So think about the keywords when you're looking for stuff. What might you know? Is it a mixing bowl or is it sort of more of a decorative bowl? So put those keywords in and load them up to the front of your listing. So have the most searchable ones at the beginning of your title. And then the next one is your photographs. So having nice clear photographs. Have a look at eBay, Etsy, Vinted. They all vary in how many photographs you can have. So you might not want to use all of eBay's photos that you can have. So I would recommend that you have between 8 and 12 photos per listing, a few less possibly on Vinted, maybe 6 to 10 on Vinted, and only include really good quality photos, and only include photos if they answer 2 questions. So are they answering, is it adding value to your listing, and does it answer a question? And if the picture doesn't, and it's sort of more of a duplicate one of something you've already covered, then leave those out. So don't overclutter include as many as you can, as long as they answer a question or they're adding value to your listing. So that's my top tip for that. Make sure the first image you have on your listing is just a really clear, nice plain background one, and then you can add in a more styled one later on. So when you're taking your photos, think of the questions that the buyer will be asking. So is there any damage or repairs? What kind of size is it? So you might have a scale photo. That would be a really good thing to have, and that might be in a styled image that you've scaled it against something else. So that's a really good tip. Condition, has it got any texture? Make sure you are including any pictures of any of the decorative bits. So in your photos, I would add all the sides, front, back, top, bottom, then include any decorative bits that you think you need to highlight in the photos. I'd then include one of the for any marks or maker's marks, damage or repairs. I don't know whether I just said that. And then a styled one or a scaled one. So those are the ones I would add. I think that is it on there. I have, I think that's it on that one. Descriptions we're on to. So, just in the photos, make sure your photos are in. Best is good daylight and a nice clear image without much clutter in the background. So, or without not over styled, and especially for your first one. So secondly, descriptions, and in the description, stick to the same theme. Keep it simple, to the point, but make sure you're answering all of the questions that the buyer might want to know. So if you had the item in your hand, and we'll have an item, I've got an item here, which is my mystery item. So if you had that item in your hand there, what would you want to know as a buyer of it? Well, first of all, it's a bit of a mystery item, so you definitely need to do research and pop in all of the information for that. And then it has got lots of, so your photographs would be good because it's got sort of, can you see the and this would be pretty difficult to photograph potentially. It's got lovely grain in the wood. It's got the line details, the hole, and it's nice and tactile, so you'd put that in maybe. Also pop in possibly the weight on that one, because it is a fairly heavy piece of wood. And then also in the description add in any potential uses, especially for something that isn't obvious. So if I've got my cup, it's obvious what we're going to use that for. But if we've got something that is a bit of a mystery, give the buyer some examples of what you might use it for. And the most obvious one for this is my candle has melted to the hook. It's so hot. So the most common use for these is people put candles in them. I mean, it's fairly boring use, but I'm sure you could come up with some other potential options for that in the garden or in the house. So give the buyer some ideas and some options of what it's for. So make sure you include all of the obvious ones: condition, measurements, actually what it is, what it's made of, any marks, if you know the history of the item or where you've particularly got this from, the provenance, where you have had this one from, and yeah, include your uses for today. So that is number 4, I think, but anyway, we could be wrong. And then number 5, pricing. So making sure you have had a look at your pricing before you list it. Check the sold prices, as we've said before in these tips. So not just the listed price, but the sold prices on them. And also think about the prices for your particular selling platform. So if you've got extra fees, you might need to add those in. If you're offering free postage, you might need to add that in. So the prices may not be the same on each of the platforms. So on Vinted, my prices are cheaper because there's no fees and the buyer pays for the postage. So that's just an example of what I do. And then in your listing, make sure you've put in the description, if you're posting it, is it free postage? How do you post it? So answer the questions that the buyer will have around postage. So when you're buying something, how much is it going to cost me? Who are they sending it with? I hope they're not sending it with that person. And how quick is it going to get here? And probably the most important one is, how are they going to wrap it? Will they really wrap it well? Or do I need to message them and ask them to wrap it well? Well, I always over wrap my items, and if it's something very smashable, like a cup or a vase or something, or a lamp, I wrap it a box within a box, if that makes sense. So I'll wrap the item up. I'll maybe do a little video sometime of how I do it, but I'll wrap the item up individually in its bubble wrap. If there's more than one component, wrap each of those bits up individually, and then I wrap them, and then I put them together, and then I'll tape them together so that they're sort of snug within each other, and then wrap them again, and then I'll put them in a box, and then I'll put that box into another bigger box, and then void fill with brown paper or whatever you've got, or newspaper. And always make sure, the thing that surprises me is when people send things, they'll put the box, or they'll put the item in, and they'll void fill around it, but they haven't put any void fill underneath it, and then they'll put void fill on the top, but they've just sat the thing in the box. And then, so make sure you create space completely around it. So that's one of the things that I do. And then think about things that you've done before that have worked well when you are listing items. So has something sold well? So make sure you're just researching everything, getting your pricing right online, and having a really good description and good photos, and that is that bit. So that should help with the listings. And then if you're going to, where are you getting your descriptions from? So if you're needing help with Google Lens or AI or anything, which is absolutely fine, but just double check, because it can be wrong, can't it? So just double check, and also always proofread your listings before you set them to go live. And then on my website, you can, which you can on most places, I think, you can schedule the listing or put it in your draft, so whichever you prefer to do. So make sure you have a few draft listings in there. Also create some templates for items that you sell over and over again, so that it saves you time next time when you're listing. So you've got the templates in there. So, and the last hit on the description, if you're not sure of what it is, or and you really can't find out of the metal or what wood it is, just be clear and say you're not sure. And then rather than plumping for a wood, unless you're 100% sure, then it's better for you to say you're not sure. But you can give them some close-ups of the grain and sort of the weight, if it's a chair or table, sort of general weight of it. If it feels like a heavy wood or it feels lighter, you could add that into your description. So one last thing for you to go off and do is go to one of your listings then and have a look. Is there any questions that, when you have a look at as if you were a buyer, and is there any questions in that listing that you would need to ask? I know that doesn't make sense, but I hope you know what I mean. So as a buyer, if you looked at that listing, would you need to email the seller and ask any questions? And if you would, fill them in and edit your description and answer those questions, and then follow the other ideas for description and your titles and stuff and your photos. And if something isn't selling, the best way to refresh it is by either deleting it and starting again would be ideal, but refresh your photos, refresh your description and your title, and relist it and see if that helps sell it. So rather than always reducing your prices on stuff, have a go at refreshing photos and descriptions and titles first, or the categories maybe. One of the things I found on Vinted, which I sort of found out by mistake really, was if you list it, and I can't remember what it was now because I was banned on this, haven't been on since, but if you list it as a certain item, so I think it was on vases, and the postage, it wouldn't so usually it lets you pick small parcel and all of those options there, but the lowest option was 5 kilograms, I think, on this vase category, and it was because I'd categorized it as a vase, which is what it was, but actually it wasn't anywhere near 5 kilograms. So, and then the postage is much higher, so that puts people off. And it was only when a buyer emailed me and asked, she wanted to buy it but the postage was putting her off, that I actually realized what was going on. So it might just be worth, I think going forward from then, I categorize them as something else. I don't know whether it was home decor and other or something like that. It was ages ago since I've been on there, but have a look at that and see if you can find it. If you can't find it, let me know and I'll get onto mine and have a look what it was. But that was a good thing pointed out by somebody, and I recategorized it. The other option was there for making it much cheaper, and then the lady bought it. So that was a bit of learning for me. So hopefully you can go off and just have a look at one listing, see what you think. Does it include everything we've just talked about? And have a look at the description, edit the description and see what happens. Hopefully it sells. But I'll see you tomorrow for day 21. Have a lovely afternoon. See you later. Bye.